Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Before we get into this video about Hugo Bueno, the linked left back, make sure you go ahead and hit that big red button down below. But yes, today we're going to be talking about another potential transfer if Leeds do get promoted to the Premier League. And this time it's Hugo Bueno, the Spanish, Portuguese-born, but Spanish youth national team, Hugo Bueno, left back from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, he is a Wolverhampton Wanderers player, but this season he's been on loan at Feyenoord and has played some Champions League football as well. He's got himself an assist in the Champions League and he's got himself 3 assists in the Eredivisie, playing a total of 22 games over the course of the loan spell so far. So, like I said, him being a 22-year-old, he's young, he's got potential. Junior Firpo is now 28, where you'd say, okay, he's probably coming into the prime of his career. For me, the ideal situation here, and I know that a lot of people have talked about this in terms of, okay, well, it looks like we're looking at another left back. That might mean that Junior Firpo's on his way out. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think whilst, yes, that might happen and could well happen, it's more to me that we need both. Or if we don't keep Junior Firpo permanently, we need to buy another left back as well as Hugo Bueno if we indeed do buy Hugo Bueno. Just before anyone comments it, there's no such thing as a jinx. Doesn't matter that we're talking about Premier League transfers. It's interesting, it's exciting, we've been linked, so I'm giving a little bit of a dossier so that people can understand who we've been linked with, just for interest's sake. So before you comment that, I've addressed it, so there's no need. Anyway, Hugo Bueno then. What type of left back is he? Well, Hugo Bueno is a left back a little bit similar to Junior Firpo in his mould, but more of a ball carrier, I would say, than Junior Firpo. Certainly somebody who likes to go past players, who likes to carry the ball and take players on, which is not something we see too much of Junior Firpo. He's very much a give and go type of player, but he does get very high up the pitch. And you can see from Hugo Bueno's progressive passes received, 4.71 per 90. That puts him in the 65th percentile compared to men's Big Five leagues and the UEFA Champions League. So he's in the top 25% of all fullbacks for receiving balls in the final third, basically. So he is in a position a lot of the time to receive the ball, and that's something that Daniel Farke certainly would have looked for in a recruitment in this position, because the way that Leeds play, often when we're in the attack, we actually build up with two defenders on the halfway line, 2 midfielders, and then pretty much fullbacks, wingers, 10 and striker are all on the attack, almost making a front 6 at times. Sometimes it's a front 5, sometimes it's a front 6, but the fullbacks are expected to be very, very high up, high and wide. And the fact that Hugo Bueno gets himself in positions to actually get assists as often as he does, that really kind of puts him in a good spot for a Daniel Farke fullback, because it means that he's in the attacking third enough. And now, whilst in the Championship, Junior Firpo is expected to play high and wide, and when his winger, whether that be Solomon, Ramazani, Nonto, whoever plays out on that side, when the winger drifts out wide, the fullback, Firpo being this time, is expected to drift inside and take up that half space, hence the goal that we saw against West Brom, where he's actually found himself in the box, in the half space, to win a header and score it in. That's the sort of thing where Daniel Farke will be absolutely ecstatic with that, because that's exactly the way he wants his system to work. Not necessarily every single time that the fullback will maraud into the box and score, but a lot of the time the fullback should take up that half space role and be there to receive the ball on the edge of the box to bring other players into play. Hugo Bueno is someone who I think is very capable of doing something like that. Hugo Bueno's pass completion is 80.7%, which puts him in the 65th percentile. So again, the top 25%, but not massively high. But as I say quite often, with players who are playing in the final third and players who are taking risks and playing passes forward, I think it was Tony Kroos himself said that pass completion rate can be one of the most kind of the most red herring statistics. That's to paraphrase him, because a lot of the time when you do get the ball and you are trying to play risky passes, you're going to have a lower pass completion rate than somebody, for example, who takes the ball in holding midfield and never takes any risks with it, just passes it sideways and backwards, like what was levelled at Jordan Henderson for years. So in terms of the pass completion rate, it's still fairly high, which is good, but we don't put too much stock in that because he's in a position where he's actually attempting to make passes into the final third. Now, one of the most interesting things about Hugo Bueno and what makes him a bit different from Junior Firpo is what I mentioned before about his carries and take-ons and stuff. And when you see him play, he's very much got that ability to drop the shoulder, to allow the ball to roll through his legs and spin his man, to receive the ball on the turn and to be running already past his opponent. Really got that kind of winger ability to drop a shoulder and go past someone, which is really good to see in a left back. So when we talk about his statistics in this sense, that backs up what I've seen when I've watched him, which is that 3.53 progressive carries per 90. So when the ball is carried more than 10 yards into the opposition half, he is in the 94th percentile with that 3.53 carries per 90, which puts him in the top 6% essentially. Successful take-ons as well. So this is not just carrying the ball forward, but this is actually having people come to try and challenge him and actually taking them on and getting away from them as well. And he has got 1.41 per 90, which puts him in the 93rd percentile. So again, top 7%. So those are really good statistics to see. The other one, which I think is a really positive thing to have if Leeds do get promoted to the Premier League, is his interceptions and blocks. Because to me, whilst he will be attacking quite a lot of the time and he'll want to get forward and he'll like to take people on, etc., you have that kind of attacking ability to be that forward, to be an extra winger essentially. But what I think is good about somebody like Hugo Bueno is his interceptions and blocks are off the charts. Well, they're not, they're just right at the top of the charts. Interceptions per 90, 1.29 puts him in the 86th percentile, so the top 14%. Blocks per 90, 2, which puts him in the 99th percentile. So he's in the top 1% compared to his peers that have played in the same position of him in the Big Five leagues and including the Champions League and the UEFA Europa League. So he's way up there for that, and he's only 22 years old. To me, that demonstrates a maturity and an ability to see the game and make sure that you are always in the right place at the right time, even when you are having to track back and get back into position, which is something that we could say you could maybe level at Junior Firpo. Is a bit of a weakness of his game, is being able to get back. Certainly in the Premier League days, he's getting better at that now. But that interception and block statistics, whilst it's not just about the interceptions and blocks, it gives me a good green flag that he's good at reading the game, which is very important, because if you are having to defend and you are having to track back, if you can stop the ball into the box, much like what we see quite often of Jayden Bogle, if you can stop the cross into the box, then you stop that move dead where it is, and it could be really, really helpful. And I think those are some really positive things for him. Now, we always do this because it's just interesting to kind of get a bit of an idea of what kind of mold of players in terms of their statistics over the past 365 days. Like, how do they match up? Who are they similar to? So you can get an idea of, oh, this player might play a little bit like this person. So top of this list is Javi Galán. Now, Javi Galán was a target of Leeds, and I'm pretty sure I made a video on him 3 or 4 years ago now. Was a target of Leeds under Bielsa. Bielsa wanted Javi Galán, I'm pretty sure. He now plays for Atletico Madrid in a more new look, attacking, forward-thinking Atletico Madrid. Forget what you've known about Atletico Madrid in the past in terms of being really defensive and rigid and solid. James Lawrence Alcott, friend of the channel, shall we say, he did a video the other day about how Atleti play more of this attacking football, and I watched that before and it's great. So if you want to, you can go and check that out. But Javi Galán is the fullback in that system, and now is expected to get a little bit higher than what you would have imagined in past Atletico squads. So that's a good person to be compared to, let me tell you. Nelson Semedo, Wolves, plays on the right-hand side of the defence. Obviously, Wolves have never been world beaters in the time that Nelson Semedo has played for them, but he's been consistent, solid, and someone signed from Barcelona. So again, a consistent Premier League player, good person to be compared to. Joe Scally, who plays for Mönchengladbach in the German league, he is an American fullback who is being lauded for his abilities as well to get forward. There's Aaron Wan-Bissaka for West Ham, who we know is kind of an established good one-on-one defender. Dodo at Fiorentina. So there is a list of decent, solid players, and Hugo Bueno is only 22 years old as well, which is a big thing to consider here. So let's sum it up then. Is he the perfect defender for Leeds? I mean, yes, he's a perfect fullback for Leeds. Is he the perfect fullback overall? No, of course not. Leeds aren't going to be able to go out there and sign the equivalent of the world's Roberto Carlos in the modern day. We aren't going to be able to go out and sign the best left back in the world, but what we are able to do is smart recruitment for somebody like him who might not be able to get too close to the Wolves team because of the established players that are already there, and Wolves may be willing to take some money for him to come to Leeds. So I think he's the perfect fullback for Leeds. I don't think he's the perfect fullback overall. And there are things that maybe would concern you slightly about his game, but he's only young, and I think he definitely offers an exciting option as a fullback for Leeds United if we do get promoted to the Premier League. So that's my kind of dossier and scout report on Hugo Bueno. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, whether you'd be happy to see Hugo Bueno in a Leeds shirt if Leeds do get promoted. But yeah, that's going to be it for this one. There is going to be a game tomorrow, isn't there? Leeds against Portsmouth. If you haven't already, make sure you go and check out the tactical preview, because I feel like that was one of my better tactical previews, where we pick out a specific danger man in Josh Murphy, who's in the thumbnail and title, so that's not a spoiler. And we actually look on the tactics board about where he could affect the play and how Leeds might be able to counteract that. So that's quite a good one to watch out for, because then at least when you come and join my live watch along, shameless plug, when you join my live watch along, we can actually look for those moments that we talked about in the tactical preview and see how they actually played out in the game. So yeah, let me know what you think about Hugo Bueno in the comments down below. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately, and I'll see you in the next one.